So today I'm going to be explaining the Scat method. What the Scat method allows us to do is it allows us to take lyrics and instead of just having them on a piece of paper and hoping that they sound good when spit over a beat, it allows us to analyze the percussive elements of those lyrics so you know that it will sound cool when you spit them. And it solves multiple problems. It tells you where to place your rhymes inside of a bar. It shows you what word you want to place emphasis on, and you'll begin to realize where you want to speed up, where you want to slow down, and where you want to take breaths. So there are essentially only 4 big rules of using the scat pattern. So the first rule is that all rhythmic scat patterns are 1 bar long. And to illustrate this, we will be using Designer's flow from his hit song Panda. So if I were to do Designer's verse, it would go, I got broads in Atlanta, twisting dope, leaning the Fanta. If you wanted to make a scat pattern of that, it would go da 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 da. To do it one more time, I got broads in Atlanta, twisting dope, leaning the Fanta. Da 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 da. That pattern ends after 1 bar, so that's completely contained. The second rule is that the rhythmic scat pattern should always end on the 4th beat. What this means is that there should always be a rhyming word at the end of your scat pattern, and it should not cross the bar line. So using Panda again, I got broads in Atlanta, twisting dope, leaning the Fanta. Fanta is clearly the end of the bar, and it lands on the 4th beat if the beat we're playing. And this can vary depending on how long you want your end rhymes to be. In this case, it's just 2 syllables, but you can make it longer. The main key is that you hit the 4th beat and that it ends there. The third rule, and this is a big one that a lot of people miss, always make sure to identify where the pauses are in your 1 bar scat pattern. Many MCs like to place a rhyme right before they have a pause in their scat pattern. Having this rhyme allows the words that follow the pause and that fill the rest of the pattern to have a slightly different rhythm. But because there's a rhyme and a pause there, the change in flow sounds incredibly natural and dynamic. So to illustrate this, I will do Designer's 2 lines again, but this time I'll have a scattered verse and a read through. So, I got broads in Atlanta, pause, twisting dope, leaning the Fanta. Credit cards in the scammers, pause, hitting the licks in the bando. Or da-da-da-da-da-da-da, pause, da-da-da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da-da-da, pause, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Notice how the rhythm of I got broads in Atlanta is quite different from the rhythms of twisting dope, leaning the Fanta. But this quick change in rhythm feels natural because of the pause and the rhyme that precedes it. To illustrate this, try keeping the same flow without the pause, and I'll show you right now. I got broads in Atlanta, twisting dope, leans in the Fanta, credit cards in the scammers, hitting the licks in the bando. So if you didn't have a pause there, changing the rhythm that drastically, that quickly, is pretty hard to make it sound good. Now, it didn't sound horrible, but it clearly didn't sound as good as when he had the pause there before. And this is a pattern that is seen in tons and tons of different MCs when they're making their flows. And the 4th and final rule is that the rhythmic pattern established in the 1st bar should match the pattern in the 2nd bar. You do this by keeping your syllable count, your rhyme placement, and your emphasis all in the same place. So for Designer's 2 lines, I got broads in Atlanta, twisting dope, leaning the Fanta, credit cards in the scammers, hitting the licks in the bando. Notice how every rhyme that is emphasized has a rhyme in the following bar that is the exact same place. Both bars have the exact same syllable count. They're both 15 syllables long. Broads is the 3rd syllable of the 1st bar, and it rhymes with cards, which is the 3rd syllable in the 2nd bar. Atlanta occupies the 5th of the 5 through 7th spot of the 1st bar, and scammers occupies the 6th through 7th spot of the 2nd bar. And then finally, Fanta and bando occupy the 14th and 15th place of each respective bar. Now, you're probably thinking, how the hell am I going to be counting syllables while I'm freestyling? The great thing about the scat method is that you don't have to count your syllables. You just have to keep your stresses in the same place relative to the beat. So as long as you keep hitting your pattern on the 4 without any major changes, it will work. And you'll know if you have a major change because anytime that you're off by 2 or more syllables, the flow will sound off immediately. And to illustrate this point, I'm going to take Designer's 2 lines, I'm going to spit the original, and then I'm going to add just 1 syllable so it throws off the rhyme alignment. And I'll show you how it sounds way worse. So, I got broads in Atlanta, twisting dope, leaning in the Fanta, credit cards and the scammers, hitting the licks in the bando. Now, the fucked up version. I got broads in Atlanta, twisting dope, leaning in the Fanta, credit cards bought from the scammers, hitting the licks in the bando. So, as you can see, by changing and the to bought from the, it messed up the flow. Now, why is this? It's because we added just 1 extra syllable. But adding this 1 extra syllable moves scammers from being aligned with Atlanta as the 6th and 7th syllables of both bars to having scammers being in the 7th and 8th spot. Now, because both of these rhymes are misaligned, you cannot do that flow, and if you try, you will mess it up. So what makes it great is that the scat method gives you instant feedback without need to think about it while you're freestyling. Now, it's hard to implement while freestyling, especially if you're new to freestyling. A great way to get the hang of using the scat method is to take a distinct flow from an MC you do like and then scat it out like we did at the beginning of the video, and then try to fill that pattern with your own words while writing. Then once you get comfortable with that, try to come up with a pattern before you start freestyling and see how long and how many times you can fill that pattern up with the words and be on time. It will be hard for a while, but over time your brain will subconsciously start to notice the rhythmic pattern in your words and in your freestyles, and you'll start to spend less time thinking of flow and more time being able to concentrate on content. However, once you get it down, basically everything you say will sound like fire, and once you have it down, it never goes away. It's one of the most constant aspects of freestyling. So that wraps up our lesson on the scat method.